All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for making the time to sit with our Director of Rugby, Jake White. We will begin now our team announcement press conference. I am pretty sure that everybody has had a chance to look at the press release with the team, so I will not go through the match day 23. We will go straight into the questions, and Ashfaq, you can kick us off. Thanks.
I don't know if you can hear me, Jake.
I can, yeah, I can.
Hi, good afternoon, Jake. You've got your full sync team there. I think one of the interesting selections is Ambrose Papier, that scrum of Zach Berger. Just your thinking there?
Yeah, I think, look, I mean, we got two really good scrum offs. And, you know, I like to keep them both sharp. Zach's had a few starts now. Emmy's had a few starts, so yeah, I'll just keep rotating them because, as I said, they both need to be available for you know, for the major part of our season. Yeah, so I mean, there's nothing in the selection. It's not a reaction to anything at the Stormers. It's basically giving him a start because, you know, he needs to get some starts as well.
Obviously, there's been a lot said about your selection policy, Jake. You know, it can go for and against you. The focus is that you've managed to rest your players and they're fresh, but they haven't also played for the last 2 weeks. We've seen the Stormers, they played their best team and they've lost some big names as well, but they are match sharp. So how do you feel at the moment, the day before the game?
I suppose, you know, I've been reading with interest all the things, and when you say a lot has been said, it's been said by you guys, not by me. And I've been reading with interest, but tomorrow is not the measurement of whether resting them last week works or doesn't work. The measurement of resting and rotating players and picking different players is by June next year. That's the measurement. You know, it's you can't play the same group. We just flew back on Monday at lunchtime. There's no ways that you can fly guys economy class 26 hours and then play the Stormers, who the URC champions. Anyway, I mean, whether you wanted to play them or not. And you saw what happened last week. I mean, 2 guys were injured now from the team that played for the Stormers last week. We got 2 injured against Leon. So talking to our medical staff, basically, most of those games, you lose 2 guys. So if you do your sums, so there's 32 games left. We're not going to have enough players if we lose 2 per week from now until June. Considering today I got the Currie Cup fixtures, I'm sure the Stormers would have got their Currie Cup fixtures, and it doesn't get any easier at all. So yeah, I just think what's important is for people to understand. It's, you know, people say, oh, tomorrow we'll see whether resting players counts or doesn't count. It's not nothing to do with tomorrow. Tomorrow is obviously another opportunity to play the Stormers. I've read they've beaten us 3 times now in a row. So, you know, it's one of those games, as I said, we'll see in June. We'll see in June when we have to play 3 competitions. And I think we'll then see, you know, whether or not rotating players, building some depth, creating opportunities for different combinations is obviously working. And I'm 100% sure it will be. You know, what we got out of the Leon game by playing different combinations and getting 5 points was massive for us.
Thanks, Ashford. Any other questions?
Yeah, thanks, Lunga. Thanks so much. How's it, Jake?
Again.
Jake, I know this is the first time you're playing the Stormers since the final, and I know some teams don't ever go back and look at a final. They don't analyze what happened there. So firstly, have you guys gone back and looked at the final in your analysis for this game? And what were the lessons from that game that you can maybe take forward into tomorrow?
Yeah, Ken, look, I mean, it's interesting. You can, you know, they always say stats is like a bikini, you know, sometimes it covers the part you want to see and exposes the part you don't want to see. And, you know, if you look at the last 3 times we lost to the Stormers, I think since I've been at the Bulls, we've probably played them 12 times and probably won 8 times out of those 12. So, you know, it depends on which side of the fence you want to look at. Beat them the last time at Newlands when it was the Hello Turf there. We beat them. We beat them the very first time the Cape Town Stadium opened. So again, just depends on how you look at it, Ken. We didn't look at the final in isolation. We know what the Stormers do. They've got you know, got 5 World Cup winners in their group. I know there's one that's out this weekend in Herschel, and then obviously Warwick Gallant left. But, you know, 9, 10 Springboks in the group. They got a style that suits them. You know, strong pack of forwards, scrum for penalty, kick in the corner, more for tries. And that hasn't changed for a long time, you know. So it's not just the final. It's over the last, you know, as I said, 2 years, 3 years, we know what they've got. And we didn't, as I said, harp on the final. We know what we need to do. We know when we've got success against them, what we did in order to get success against them. Yeah, so I hope that answers your question, Ken. It's not so much, you know, I read again, revenge and, you know, avenging the results and all that sort of stuff. You know, it's, when you've been coaching for 40 years, you don't get up in the morning and revenge results that, you know, I can't believe Leinster will have revenge against us, you know, or, so yeah, just to sum it up, we know what they've got. You know, they've got 6 forwards on the bench. I think it's a great, advert for Bulls rugby that the Stormers derby game have to put 6 forwards on the bench. Don't you think, Ken? You know, it's like the old days. You've got to put 6 forwards on the bench to play the Bulls.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Well, I mean, I'm just stating the obvious. I mean, it's like, reminds me of the old powerhouse Northern Transvaal Western Province games when they saw the Northern Transvaal pack of forwards as a strength. And you know, as I said, it's a great compliment to us as a group that those sort of images and those sort of fears are you know, again sort of rethought about, because it's something we pride ourselves on. It's part of our DNA. But then again, you know, obviously having Kirtley and Kane and Ryan Goosen and backs like we do, Harold and Lionel, and you know, as I said, some attacking backs like Cornell. We're probably lucky in that we've got an added value to our team, Ken.
No follow-up question, Ken? If not, Stephen, over to you.
Thanks very much, Linda. How's it, Jake? Nice to see you.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Stephen.
Jake, would you say that you hold a lot of aces for this game, considering the injuries that the Stormers have? And I think last year they were quite, you know, Evan Roos and Warwick Gallant and so on were quite big players for them. And
Yeah.
Would you say in that sense that you kind of hold aces, that they probably a bit of it's certainly on paper, maybe a little bit of a weaker team than they were last year in the final, for example?
Yeah, Ken. I mean, sorry, Stephen. I don't think so. I mean, obviously, you want me to give you a headline that says I think they've got a weakened team with all the injuries. Nothing's changed, Steve. I've been at the Bulls since I got here. Our team hasn't leapfrogged anybody. Our team is still young. Our team is still in the evolution of where I want them to be, still developing. You know, we haven't. You know, we've maybe got a year older, but so have every other team. You know, that's the irony of it. And 2 years ago, everyone wrote about this young Bulls team that are getting built together. And I think that's the message that I'm going to keep telling you guys. You know, we haven't gone from being a young team to all of a sudden being this powerhouse senior team, you know. I mean, I use the example, you know, the top 5 of the Stormers are man for man, I think 2 years older than every guy in our team. You know, if you look at, you know, their front row are in their 30s or close to 30, you know, late 20s Dweber, late 20s Ori, you know, Dixon's older. If you look at our locks and our, you know, they're 24, 23 type. So I suppose what I'm saying to you, Stephen, I don't think it's, we're still where we are. We're still developing and we're still growing and we're still evolving as a team. We obviously, I would like to believe we've got better. And I'd like to believe that we're going to have a much better performance because of the experiences we've had in the last 2 years. But to say all of a sudden we're playing against a weaker Stormers team, you know, Dobson has been with them for a long, long time now. and he's put together a group of players that he's coached almost from UCT days. So, you know, they are the most experienced coaching staff in this competition, and definitely South African coaching staff, Stephen. So, you know, we still relatively young. So yeah, I'm not going to give you the headline and say they're a weak team. I think they're still favorites. I read they've beaten us 3 times in a row now, and they're not worried about who runs out the tunnel. So, I mean, I don't think that's changed. If I read them, we can't all of a sudden become favorites and play a depleted Stormers team or Western Province team, Stormers team, yeah.
Jake,
There's so many competitions. I'm not sure if they're called Western Province or Stormers this week again, you know, but that's why it's there's so much rugby, Stephen. You know, I just look at again at that Curry Cup. I'm sure when you get it, the Curry Cup fixtures, you'll just be blown away by, you know, how much rugby there's going to be in the next 5 months.
Jake, you obviously also, you mentioned them, you know, bringing the forwards and in the game, and you bringing almost like, you know, you talk about the old days, but those backs of yours look very province-like. You've been taking it back to the old days.
100%.
Do you think this is a game where, you know, the likes of Kurt Lee, Kanan could play a massive role, or do you think that the space is just going to be closed up very much for backs of that quality?
Yeah, Stephen, look, I'd like to believe that, you know, that there will be space. I mean, they're good players. You know, they've played test rugby and opened up holes in test rugby. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to believe that there'll be enough space and opportunities. Remember the final, literally in the last play of the game, Kurtley Orense made a line break, made a poor pass to Madosh. Otherwise, we win that game. You know, that's how close it was. You know, so yeah, I mean, it's fantastic that you say we've got good backs as well, because that is something, again, you know, I'm very proud of. Chris Rousseau's worked really hard with our backline to produce, you know, 3 guys this year that have been called up to national duty in the backline. Says a lot also for our backline, you know. So, yeah, Stephen, it is province-like, but again, you know, I go back to what I said to you just now. You know, I'm happy, and I'm, as I said, I'm not surprised that the Stormers are picking 6 forwards on their bench. It's a great compliment to us, great compliment to where we are as a team. You know, we're young. We got Locks in the early 20s. We got front rows early 20s. We got Elrich Lowe early 20s. If 6 of our forwards who are now only coming through the ranks, you know, call for a 6-2 bench from Western Province with senior players like they have, it's a great place to be. I think. I think it's a great feather in our cap.
Cheers, Jake. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen.
Brendan, no.
How's it, Jake? You talked a lot about the forwards. Obviously, the last couple of weeks, different team, so it doesn't. The question doesn't pertain to them. But you guys led in a couple of maul tries. Just on that, do you think the Stormers are going to target you guys more there tomorrow? I know it is a different team than played in the European competition.
Yeah, Brendan. Well, it's copy and paste for the last 2-3 years. That's how they. In the final, they scored a maul try against us as well, you know, and that's how they do it. I mean, they got an incredible front row, Springboks. They've got Springbok, you know, line-out caller. Yeah, and I mean, so, and Achiever jumps really well at the back of the line-out. So I can't see them going away from that. You know, I can't see them going away from scrum penalty, kick in the corner, get into your 22 maul. You know, we're going to have to be good enough to firstly not give them entries into our 22, and when they do get in, to make sure we're good enough to stop them all. You know, so it is something that works for them, and I can't see them, Brendan, going too far away from that. It's given them success, and you know, we're going to have to match that. You know, but at the same time, you know, we're going to have to be accurate when we've got the ball as well, and obviously score some tries as well, because we're not just going to win the game by keeping them out of our 22.
Jake, and just to follow up on that, I know I've asked this of some of your players this week, but has it been easier in a week where everybody else is on the beach and thinking about the beach, at least the fact that it is a derby like this, to keep the guys focused?
Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that, Brennan, because I mean, I've just come back. I've got a home in Omanis. I was there and I basically filmed this morning, packed beach this morning in front of my home. And I was thinking, is it a good thing or a bad thing that people are in holiday mode? There's a positive and negative. One is, people here they're in holiday and they're not sure whether they're going to have gammon or turkey for tomorrow night's dinner. But at the same time, it's family time, so, a lot of these players would have some of their family with them visiting. And then there's a positive to that as well. Your mom and your dad and, obviously your brothers and your sisters that are with you for Christmas. So you have an added incentive of playing well, while they're home, and there's a sort of family feel. So, yeah, I'm not sure, Brendan. As I said, I'm sure it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I suppose we can only do what we do up in. It is unique, though, I will say. I mean, who would have thought as a young boy growing up that I was going to be coaching rugby on the 23rd of December and then the 31st of December. In those days, it used to be Boxing Day cricket tests on TV in Australia. Now, all of a sudden, people are going to sit on the TV and watch, the Sharks and the Bulls and the Stormers playing rugby. So it is unique. But it is where we are, Brennan. So I suppose, the quicker we accept that that's how the competition is, then it's going to be so much easier.
Thanks, Brendan. Lloyd, Bernard?
Thanks. How's it, Jake? I hope you're well. If you wouldn't mind just speaking to the context of the fixture in South African rugby history, there is the feeling, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that over the last few years, this fixture has kind of restored itself to its status as South African rugby's premier rivalry. Would you agree with an assessment like that? And if so, how good is that for South African rugby at large to have this fixture back kind of on that level?
Lloyd, look, you would know because you guys have known me a long time. I'm a big one for old school values. And when Tikkies played Marties and when Western Province played Northern Transvaal, Doc Craven always said, when those teams are strong, South African rugby is strong. So firstly, thank you that you think that this derby it's got its old value system back and its old sort of aura back. I think it's fantastic that the North-South derby, as we know it, is going to be competitive. As a schoolmaster, I always used to tell boys that I coached, one of the things you always want to do is you want to make sure that derby games stay derby games forever and ever. Otherwise, one team has fallen by the wayside. And there's no doubt that this is a derby. There's no doubt that North-South rugby is live and well. At this point in time, Tikkies are still Varsity Cup champions. Obviously Province or URC champions. So, the North-South challenge is healthy, and it doesn't get any, always use the cliche, people say it doesn't get any easier. The bottom line is it's not going to get any easier the more these two teams challenge each other with the squads they have. So, Lloyd, it's I'm very, very honored that I'm part of a Blue Bull or Bulls team that can play in a derby game and is given, obviously given the kudos of what people say it is. Hopefully we'll do tomorrow night, we'll do that rivalry justice.
No follow-up, Lloyd?
All good from our side. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Thanks, Lloyd. Kenneth?
Thanks, Lunga. Jake, if I can just ask you about someone who's not playing tomorrow. Jacques du Plessis, I think we saw in the one game he did play just how much value he can add. Just how frustrating has it been for you that he had such a long injury? You obviously, we're very careful about bringing him back. You didn't bring him back and he gets injured straight away.
Yeah, Ken, look, I think he's going to add massive amounts of value to us in the next 5 months. For a guy who came back from a long-term injury, played really well against Leon. When I say played really well, did the things I needed him to do and added the value he needed to our pack in that small space of time. But then, broke a bone on his hand, probably a 6-week injury. Nothing serious in that he can still keep fit and run and train and all that sort of stuff. It's just a question of letting that bone heal. And then he should be back. So hopefully by the middle of January, he's back into our group. And, when you say it's frustrating for me, I think it must be a hell of a frustrating for him too. You can imagine he's had 2 Achilles injuries. This was the second Achilles that we now sorted out. And now all of a sudden, he got a sort of a 6-week hand injury. So But Ken, I don't want to keep, repeating myself, but it's fact. 2 guys per week. Last week Murat and I don't know who the back was that got injured, but every week there's 2 guys that go down. If you do your sums, if he's out for 6 weeks, I'm probably going to need him in 6 weeks' time when there's an attrition of another 4 or 5 guys that are going to fall by the wayside. So, hopefully, as I said, then he'll be injury free for a little bit of a longer time.
Thanks, Kenneth. Stephen, you had an older hand, or was it a new hand you covered? Can we let Coach go?
Yeah, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Jake, all the best.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, same to you.
All
All
right.
the best.
Cool.
All the best.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Coach.